Welcome to Job Sharing and Beyond, the Future of Work podcast that goes beyond the traditional 9 to 5. I am Karen Tischler, speaker, consultant, and host of the show, where we hear from global experts every other week to discover innovative solutions and tips on how to remain a relevant employer in the future. Hello, everybody. Today is another follow-up conversation based on today's LinkedIn live conversation that I had with my previous guest, Cheney Hamilton. Cheney is the CEO of Find Your Flex Group. And so we spoke today about one of my favorite topics, everything related to flexible work, why it is important, how the pandemic has changed employers' outlook on it. And then also we spoke about returnships, focusing on skills, transferable skills, and more. So if you haven't had the opportunity to see our LinkedIn conversation live today, here is a great chance to catch up. And also I will put in the show notes the previous conversation that Cheney and I had, so you can hear in more detail how she got started with Find Your Flex. Hello, Cheney. It is so nice to see you again.
Hi, Karen. Thank you for having me back. It feels like yesterday, to be fair.
I know, right? It doesn't seem that it's been months, really. So it's really, really nice. And as we were saying earlier, it's been a super busy day for you today. So I'm super appreciative that you can make it. And we will talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I would like to welcome everybody who is watching us now or in the replay. And for people who do not know you yet and your work, Cheney, could you just introduce yourself with 5 facts, please, like the working out loud method?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Cheney Hamilton. I'm the CEO and founder of findyourflex.co.uk, Mummy Jobs and Daddy Jobs. We are a flexible working career network. We do research, consultancy now. We just seem to be doing so much stuff in the future of workspace, and that's something that is really exciting for me, and it really, really drives me and my passion. So that's one thing, I guess. The next thing, I was Daily Telegraph Junior Golf Champion in 1996. So that's going back a ways, and I haven't picked up a golf club for a long time, but it's something that I did used to enjoy. My favorite movie is The Sound of Music. Does that age me? Does that date me? Love that. It's not Christmas without The Sound of Music. I have 3 children, aged 6, 4, and 2. And they are the reason why I left Fleet Street, why I left a 6-figure salary and set up my company, and now barely earn £1,000 a month. But it's one of those things. We have to do it at some point in our lives, or we'll regret it. And number 5, I can't cook. My husband is an amazing cook, which saves me and the children from having diabolical dinners every day. And hopefully that's enough about me.
Thank you so much, Cheney. That's awesome. And now, as we just said, it's been such a busy day. Could you maybe share what you've been up to since we last talked? What has happened? I mean, if you want to start with today, because it's been amazing.
Today's been busy. We've recorded our first 2 podcasts of our upcoming #TalkingFlex series. We're doing 6 that are candidate focused, and 6, and I'm going to say thought leadership, but it's not, it's thought action, because we're sick of the leadership now. It's time to act. So that's kind of what we're doing. So today were 2 of the candidate ones. I got to speak to some amazing people. Sarah Hutchin at Court Brasserie. I got to speak to Adrian at Hirefall. I got to speak to Matthew at Corvia. Rebecca, who is one of our career coaches, and Di Keller, who is an amazing lady, one of our HR power specialists, and she's a big diversity inclusion lead. And we were talking transferable skills, which is really, really important in the current climate, and with a lot of people about to lose their jobs over the new I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but in the UK, the government have legislated that for certain industries, it's no jab, no job. So come September the 13th, there's going to be a lot of people leaving the healthcare sector who don't want to get vaccinated and therefore have to reskill into another industry because there's not going to be any other job for them in healthcare that they can do without being vaccinated. So we've been talking a lot about transferable skills and what industries, how to find them and understand them and write a skills-based CV versus a chronological one. So that was one, which is a big one on its own. But then we moved in the afternoon to ATS systems, which again, candidates don't really seem to be aware that they're playing a big part in their lives at the minute. So that means applicant tracking systems, just to get rid of the lingo. A lot of people, and we were talking to some of the new guys that have joined our team in recent months, first sort of experience in recruitment media, first time coming across applicant tracking systems. And they're like, wow, if I'd have known that these existed when I was a job seeker, I don't think I would have felt as bad about myself knowing that it's an automated system that is rejecting me rather than a physical human being, as seems to happen in a lot of cases. So we were talking about sort of the do's and do nots around applicant tracking systems, whether or not CV writers are worth their money in terms of how they seem to possess the knowledge to sort of navigate application tracking systems, especially for those people who maybe haven't written a CV in a while. It's been really interesting. And then if that wasn't enough, we jumped straight into a LinkedIn Live with the guys at Skills City in Manchester, which is all about the free courses that they have put on, which is just bloody amazing to get women into tech, and they're completely free to access. So there's no inhibitors whatsoever. So if they're based in the Northwest, they can train and become AWS coder. They can do Raytheon and do cybersecurity. So that was amazing. And then to top my day off, Karen, I've got you and what we're talking about now. So that's just amazing.
Well, thank you. It's really amazing. And you know what's so interesting as you're talking about transferable skills, because I'm a firm believer, and I'm coming from when somebody has been an unpaid care worker for a few months or a few years, the transferable skills that they have learned and how often it is underestimated. And so, having you talk about this is amazing, because I feel in so many parts of one's life, one can learn skills that are easily transferable, but often people actually are not aware that they are actually learning them or have learned them.
Yeah, and that's it. And we had some really knowledgeable ladies and career coaches and people who work in D&I on that particular podcast, sharing their experiences. So for example, my marketing director for Find Your Flex is a career transitioner. So she was a midwife. She is now a director of marketing, and she did that in her mid-30s. And I just think what we kind of got to was there's no age limit. There's no barrier to learning. There's no barrier to where you can move your skills from and to. It's just about, I guess, unlocking your confidence and picking out actually what can I do? What do I actually do well? And not just that, what do I want to do in my next job? Because there might be some stuff that you do as a skill in your current job that actually you might be able to do it, but you don't enjoy it, and you want to take that with you into your next role. So really interesting topics in terms of how we transition out of COVID-19 and either head back to work or potentially into a new job, or maybe completely decide to go freelance. So interesting times.
Yeah. And then, in that same area, you have recently started, there is the returnship that you are partnered with Wells Fargo. If you wanted to share about this, because I thought that was amazing. I mean, it all fits.
Well, I know. So Sandy Chow, who is, she's just a legend. I met her 4 years ago when she was at Centrica, and we met. We loved each other. We just had that bond that people have when you just both try to do great things. And unfortunately, she couldn't work with us there at that time. But she's left. She's now at Wells Fargo, and she's doing some amazing stuff over there. So basically, it's the Glide program that they've got over there in Canada and in the States. It's been wildly successful. And she chose us to partner with us to help recruit for it here in the UK. So it's the first time they're running this program. And it's for, they've found some fantastic jobs there, because you don't really get them that often for lawyers and stuff like that as well. So actually, in the finance sector. It was really, really interesting to see those roles come about. Weirdly, we've also, because we haven't done returner campaigns for ages, and then we had 2 in 1 week. So we've been working with the guys over at Inclusivity to work with BAT, so British American Tobacco. And they are doing a whole campaign in the science community. So it's like, come on, return of the STEM subjects, guys. And let's get all these people back into work. So yeah, it's been a busy week.
Yes.
But yeah, some amazing opportunities on the platform at the minute.
And then one other aspect of your platform, the Apprentice Hub. Could you talk a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, I think it's really weird because it's become the Apprentice Hub. When we kind of first thought about those areas of the site, because we have the Return Hub, we have the Apprentice Hub, it was about a place for content. It was about giving employers an opportunity to talk about their culture, their values, the behaviours that are exhibited within that business, and to entice apprentices or career changers, which is kind of what it was there for, so that anybody can start afresh, anyone can restart with you. Of any age, and actually have an opportunity to get to know you as a company before you start applying for these apprenticeship roles. So that was kind of why we set up the Apprenticeship Hub. So it's not just about early careers, it's about how people transition. So again, using those transferable skills, right, and giving people the opportunity to understand more about the business and the environment that they're potentially going to be going into, because obviously there's a lot of industries that might be completely wildly different from what the behaviors are in other industries. So it's just to give them another opportunity to promote with video or editorial or imagery or case studies or candidate testimonials of people who've traversed that divide before, a place to really share outside of a bog standard job description.
Yes, and so I recently read that in the UK there is now the proposal of the T levels, like in between, right? There's A levels, there is GCSE, and then there are the T levels. And my impression is that fits into with the apprenticeship, because you do a special how do you call it?
Like work placement.
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I think it's weird, isn't it? Because I think when I was a uni student, a lot of people did those. It was called a sandwich course. So it was you did your 3 years. It was 3, but it was 4 years. So you had 4 years, but 1 year was out actually doing a work placement for a year. But then they kind of fell out of favour, and a lot of people didn't do them anymore. But actually, I think what a lot of graduates have found over the last 10 years is when they're leaving, they've got no work experience. So they're really finding it hard to break into the careers that they want to get. So maybe these T courses, you've got one on me there because I've not even heard of them. I'm assuming that's why they're bringing these back into play, so that people who do want to carry on their education also get some work experience at the same time, which is not a bad idea, because, I think as an employer and as a manager of teams, some of the grads that I've managed and come out, the expectation has been to be at management level within 6 months of joining the team, but actually they've not got a starting block. They've not had any work experience. So I felt like they were coming out of university, and the universities were giving them false expectations of where they should be within a given timeline. And there's obviously certain industries, tech, for example, where you can, rise so quickly. But in terms of media, in terms of marketing, it's their knowledge-based roles, and it takes a while to understand what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. So, that even coming out with the head start of a degree doesn't mean you're on the management track, it could mean you're on the management track, but it doesn't mean you're going to get there in 6 months' time. So, I think any kind of course that comes into play where they're learning and they get to study to get work experience at the same time is brilliant in my book.
Yeah. And, as you're mentioning this, it's a perfect segue to job sharing, because ultimately what you just described is, to me, one of the things I love so much about job sharing. You have people who have maybe intergenerational knowledge or experience. So somebody might be more tech knowledgeable, but might not have the life experience. And so being put together with somebody who might be more experienced, but either is planning to retire at some point, or simply, has other things in their life.
Almost like a mentoring job share program.
Exactly.
So my business partner Richard owns a company called Allied Worldwide, and that's exactly what they do with their tech team. So they pair them up. So you've got a senior and a junior. So the junior is doing the day-to-day. The senior gets brought in when problems happen or anything like that, and it needs to be sort of stepped up. But all that time, that junior is learning off the senior, and it's such a great way to bring people on, and especially where there's big skills-based like areas of the country at the minute where there's just nobody available to do these jobs. And the top end, they're coming out, and there's nothing going back in at the bottom to sort of get people up to where they need to be.
Yeah. And I also feel, honestly, from a returning perspective, because sometimes there is a lack or a reduction of self-confidence in a business level. So being teamed up with somebody who has the knowledge of the latest year or so, to immediately feed that knowledge with the life experience that somebody might have had, and leadership skills they have learned during unpaid care work. In my mind, I see that as a optimal solution, because also I feel sometimes people would love to return but cannot because of the lack of flexible job opportunities, especially on a mid-management level and above.
Yeah, I think that will change. I think the last 2 years will inadvertently have changed the whole work-life balance and ecosystems of businesses. I think, over there you're seeing the Great Resignation. I think that's about to start here. Furlough ends in September. Like I said, you've got the whole no job policies coming in. There's a lot of turbulence in the job seeker market at the minute. Some employers undoubtedly will abuse that and go back to a really restricted timetable. Others will have learned from the last 2 years that actually there are different working strategies, and actually it's in their interest for their people to be more productive. And if that means working at non-traditional hours, then so be it. So I think, the good companies, the companies that are going to get the best talent, the companies who you're going to want to work for or return to, they'll be thinking about candidate engagement and employee engagement and productivity and all of that great stuff, and people will get those opportunities. We're on a crest of a wave right now, and we don't want it to go backwards. It's going to keep steaming forwards, and there's a lot of people certainly in the UK that are really driving and pushing for flexible working. From my side of things, it's more on the business side, like showing businesses how they can do it if they haven't done it throughout COVID, how they can do it now, what they need to look at, and really interesting content that we're writing around that. We're holding power hour sessions with businesses who are genuinely trying to change, and for me, that's all really positive news.
That sounds excellent, and I'm more positive as well. I'm generally positive, but I really feel that's one of the silver linings out of the pandemic, that business leaders realized, yes, we can have people working remotely and it doesn't impact productivity. And then I feel by having more of a trust type working relationship, it also then builds in more flexibility, and so I'm really hoping that, like, here in Canada, job sharing and part-time careers will become a more common occurrence, which at the moment I feel we are not quite there yet, but that's why we are talking.
Exactly. And we're not in the UK or UK either, to be fair, but it's about, I think for me, the biggest thing is about that appetite to change and the understanding of the benefits that it can bring. Because after that, I think we've done a lot of writing recently around culture, values and behaviors of businesses and how they've changed over the last 24 months. Because if you're telling me that they haven't, then you're not in touch with your community, you're not in touch with your employees, you're not understanding that it's made a big impact on all of us. However way you want to slice and dice it, it has made an impact. And I think, businesses are going to have to go back, look at their culture, look at if their values have changed. If they have, how has that impacted the behaviors of the people in there, of the management team, of the hiring people? And it may very well lead to organisational change that is required, and a new way of working. We keep telling anyone who listen that we need to move away from these 1950s work modalities. I know we've discussed it before, Karen, and I think this is the time is now. This is when we should be talking about it, as we're rebuilding back, as we are about to go into exponential growth, as we get all of these new candidates into the marketplace, and the lost generations that have just left school and colleges and universities over the last couple of years. We've got to put things in place to support them. So we can't go wholly remote, because they still need face time. They still have social skills that they need to develop, that they still need to find their friendship groups, their partners. There's so much that we do in our early days of work that these guys have lost. So businesses need to be aware of that, and they need to start treating us like grown-ups. I think this is what I always keep defaulting back to. Just talk to people, see what they want, see what you can accommodate. I think people are aware, your employees are never going to be able to accommodate everything. It's about being met halfway and actually feeling like you've been listened to.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, Cheney. It's like, I'm hoping the next time we talk, maybe in a year or so, we can say these things have changed for the better. And I really agree with you. It's, who would have thought like 2 or 3 years ago, what, sudden change through the pandemic would have, come across. Like, I remember, just having one day at home was a big deal a few years ago. And now it's like, people are demanding it. Exactly. And so many people are resigning because they're like, nope, this is my expectation. And oh, by the way, I've moved to a different city or state or province. Yes. So, yeah. Well,
not only the other side of this that I think we've been forgetting, that I wrote something this week. Our PR team probably kill me talking about it early, but something that happened to a team member of mine this week is literally, she joined us. We did a big whole announcement of, she's joined the team. Isn't she fantastic? Blah, blah, blah. That was on a Friday. On the Monday, she got targeted by scammers who pretended to be me. And we have been a wholly remote team since 2017. And they managed to convince her, as a new starter who was just, wanted to be helpful to her new boss, make an impression, because like I say, we're not getting this first time as much. And they managed to scam her out of £800 with to buy Google Play vouchers as an incentive to our clients and things like that. And she just thought she'd being helpful and I was going to immediately reimburse her. And these guys are completely scammed out of that money. And we really tried to help. We rang the bank, we went back to the shop where we purchased them. There was no support. I run my bank insurance. Business insurance is not geared for remote teams at all. There's literally no support that can come from it. And this is £800 is a lot of money to use. And we're a small business. It's a lot of money to us as a business to lose. And we have rallied, the team's rallied. We're a small team. We're clubbing together. We're going to put all of our commissions into a pot. We'll make sure she gets her money back. But that's not our responsibility. We pay business insurance for a reason. Big businesses are multi-billion pound companies that should be doing more to protect people in their shops that are buying stuff and that are at risk from scammers. So I think there's a whole big piece of work to help protect and safeguard remote workers as well. I'm ever learning, like I say, 4 years into being a remote team. And it's just one of these things where it's stuff that employers need to think about. And when we're talking about engagement and making sure people are safe, we've had previous experiences. Another sort of friend of mine who owns her own remote company where, one of their colleagues actually died and nobody realized for like 2 or 3 weeks because they didn't have the communications in place to understand that actually a team member was missing and that had actually passed away. So there's a lot of angles, I think, when we look at remote working and we look at how we engage with our teams and I guess the support mechanisms that go around that and safeguard your people that we have in the office, make sure that gets replicated at home too.
I mean, absolutely. It's one of the things I wanted to say about that was people moving to different areas, whether it's a different province, state, or country, just from also a tax perspective, social security, that all of this I feel is right now probably quite complicated or more complicated than people imagine. But I imagine the more people you have doing this, it will become, more streamlined, simply because, if it's becoming the norm that you are, I don't know, living in, I'm making this up, Hawaii, and you're working somewhere in Europe, right? Yeah. But I mean, to your point, like, from a safety perspective, I mean, I hadn't even thought about this, what you said just now. Yeah, absolutely. And I feel, so, one of the big aspects of bigger, senior leaders saying we need to come back to the workplace is to have company culture. But really the question is, how can you create company culture being remote? What kind of mechanisms,
because we've got an amazing company culture. In fact, if we didn't have the culture that we had, my new starter wouldn't have been due, because she would never, like, if it was me working for one of my old bosses who asked me to go out and put £800 on my own personal card, I'd be like, you're transferring me the money first so you can give me a business card and I'll go and do that for you. I wouldn't have paid for it out of my pocket. So somebody's preyed on our company culture to, get somebody to do something that they thought I was asking them to do. And, it made us all feel sick that actually something that we're really, really proud of as a company had been abused in that way. So, I think, the culture are the people at the end of the day. And that's why I'm saying that there'll be a disconnect right now, because they won't be singing the same hymn sheet. And that's why we need to be talking to our staff. We need to be talking to the leadership and making sure everybody's kind of where they need to be, and understands that, that company culture may have shifted over the last sort of 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. Well, it's so nice talking to you, Cheney. And it's like, I can't wait to talk to you again in a year or so and just find out, what more things have happened. And I'm definitely feeling quite positive about the future. So, and thank you so much for sharing all the updates you have had.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited about the future of work. There's so many good things coming down the road. So I'd love to come back and talk to you about it again.
That sounds great. Yes. Thank you so much for listening to the show. We hope you gained valuable insights and new ideas. To keep listening to future episodes, please head over to iTunes or your favorite player and subscribe and give it a rating. We would very much appreciate a review and for you to share it on social media, so more people can start innovating in how they offer employment. Until the next time, goodbye.